And we're live here on YouTube. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing today?
I'm all right, Mike. A little tired as it was a long week at work, but
I don't know what
we
that's
got
like.
through. Yeah, I bet, or at least this week you don't. um, but we got through it, and yeah, just sometimes just gotta embrace the suck and fight through it. Keep going. So, Mike, how was your week?
It was nearly non-existent.
Yeah.
Um,
How was it non-existent, Mike?
so I didn't go. I didn't have work Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, I had work. Thursday, I left work halfway, like a couple hours in. I went back and worked late, so I ended up not actually ended up working a full 8 hours yesterday. So, so I didn't end up using any time, and then I took today off as just a day that I needed to take off, and still had to go into work for a quick thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Hopefully tomorrow. Well, hopefully this upcoming week will get you back into I guess normal rhythms of work. Um, Normal rhythms of work. But Mike, we got a show to talk about. It's Friday night. It's kind of late, but we're on the air talking like we normally are. So, Mike, this week we got a big topic of the NFL draft, as we'll be talking what the Bears did, whether we liked it or didn't like it, as well as maybe a couple teams, maybe one or two teams where we've liked what they have done with their draft picks so far, and ones where we're kind of left maybe scratching our heads, as well as giving you a brief update on how our NHL, and NBA teams are doing in the playoffs. Mike, what else are we going to be touching base on?
Rich, we're back in the NASCAR corner this week to see what's going on in the fastest track on Earth, along with what was the other one we got? Did you say NBA and NHL?
I did. So the main thing we're missing,
Oh,
Mike,
baseball.
is baseball.
Yeah, we got baseball.
All that and more, Mike. But what do we got to do first?
Better go ahead and roll that intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Before we do any of that, Rich, we got something more important to talk about. The most important thing we do every week, just because that's what you guys actually participate in. It's the poll question. Rich, tell the folks what the poll question was this week and kind of our themes.
Yeah, so our theme this week is still we're in springtime activities. It is springtime. And our activities this week, our final first round matchup is flying a kite, which are number 6 seed, going up against the number 11 seed, planting a tree. And Mike, last week you mentioned that we wanted to include planting a tree in this past week's poll because it was Arbor Day this week.
Yeah.
Or this past week. So Mike, I went with flying a kite. I don't recall the last time that I flew a kite, but I know I've done it. I don't think I've ever actually planted a tree.
So when I was in elementary school, our elementary school every year for Arbor Day, we would go down and we would plant a tree in a couple different locations. I still remember where one of the trees we planted is. It's at the Mark of the Quad Cities. I think it's still there. I haven't gone and checked in a while. I kind of want to go check. But yeah, my elementary group planted that tree. I enjoy planting trees. Rich, you've driven by my folks' place a time or two, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the backyard, the actual backyard part of the house, not the fenced in part of the backyard, not anything outside of the. There's one tree in the in the middle of the backyard. We as a family planted that tree. That tree is getting big. It will be massive. For generations, people will look at that tree. Nobody's going to know anything about it. But for me, my siblings, and my family, and maybe my children, I don't know. I will tell my children about planting it. But at some point, that tree is our tree. Somebody's going to cut it down one day. That's fine. Hopefully they use it for firewood or they make something out of it. I don't care. But that's the tree that my family planted in that location. And it's grown up as we as children grew up, that tree grew up. And it faced some hardships, and there were times we didn't know that it was going to survive. But that little tree is now a decent-sized tree. And that's one of the reasons why I love planting trees. You can actually buy redwood trees and plant them anywhere. Now, some places do better than others, but could you imagine planting a tree today, a little seedling, that theoretically can last 2,000 to 3,000 years? Like, to me, the legacy of planting a tree, I don't care about the environmental thing. I don't care about the oh, it makes it cleaner and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it does all of that. That's cool. But the fact that I planted a tree that theoretically in 80 years, 100 years, somebody's going to look at and be like, that's a cool tree. Or maybe they cut it down and they make a table out of it, and somebody's going to eat on a table from a tree that I planted. Things like that generations can go by and be affected by something I did today. Flying a kite's a good activity for a couple hours. Planting a tree means that you've done something that will last beyond your lifetime.
All right. So, Mike, a follow-up question to all of that is, I know you have a lot of trees in your yard where you're at in northwest Iowa, but have you have a family, your growing family too?
Yeah.
Have you gone out and planted a tree yet?
Not here.
Passed down that tradition.
I would love to. We don't have a good spot to put a tree right now. We'd have to cut down a tree, and none of my trees are ready to be cut down yet. I have a few that might in a couple years, but right now none of them are ready to be cut down. So for me, I haven't yet. Not at my house. We might at my in-laws' house. We might, like I said, this summer our family trip, if it takes us out to the redwood forest, we might pick up a redwood and plant it in the middle of Iowa. See what happens to it.
All right.
Well,
So
I won't, but my great grandkids might one day. So, just a thought.
All right. Gotcha. All right, Mike. So so flying a kite, we'll move on to our poll. We'll find out
I don't know. Had we announced that yet? I guess is the real thing. Flying a kite wins.
Well, I get, yeah. Tell the people who voted along with me for flying a kite.
Flying a kite wins 3-2. Matt Johnson, Jason Flanker, and you all voted for flying a kite. Me and my wife both agreed that we should plant a tree with our children someday soon. I think is kind of what that is. So,
all right.
Planting a tree or flying a kite's going to do what?
It's gonna move on. It will have a second round matchup. We'll find out who it's gonna face in the coming weeks. But this week, Mike, we're gonna go to our number 1 overall seed as agreed to us when we ranked all of these activities, which was an Easter egg hunt. And I'll be going up against the lowest seeded winner from kind of like our playing group, and which will be Dancing in the Rain. Easter egg hunt, Dancing in the Rain. I'll get that poll question up here either tomorrow morning or maybe after we get done recording, depending on the time.
Are you, side question, just because that means
Sure.
you have to get on Facebook, Are you still doing it? I know it's after Easter. Are you still doing the
No,
mostly fast,
you
or
know
are you?
what? I have deleted the app from the phone. Took it a step further. I deleted the app from the phone. So I'm really only getting on to post the poll question, and it's through the web browser. That's it. So I post the poll, I vote on it, and then I walk away from it the rest of the week.
Good for you. Like I like that. I'm trying to like I I actually had deleted the app and did really good. Didn't even think about getting it today. And then I had to do a thing for we'll talk about it later, but a thing for esports and stuff like that. And yeah,
Gotcha.
we'll
So
explain.
Mike,
So I had to put it on my phone. So
gotcha. So it was just being too much of a temptation of a distraction of getting into the getting into the reels. So that's so which is why I wanted to take a fast from it to begin with. So it's gone now. Can't do it anymore.
good, good for you. Okay.
All right. So but yeah, but whether you're but if you want to participate in our poll question and get a shout out, you can find the poll on our Facebook page at Fans of Balls and Sticks. It also usually gets shared to Mike and I's page as well as the regular uh, Balls and Sticks page. You can find it anywhere, and we also have a link to our Facebook page in our show descriptions if you're finding us on YouTube or in podcast land. Mike, do you see what's coming up next?
Is it a left turn, Rich?
It is a left-hand turn. And what's after that?
Is it another left hand turn?
It is, Mike, because we're going into the NASCAR corner. The NASCAR corner is presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, and you can also find them on eBay. Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated for all your cards and memorabilia needs. So, Mike, last week we were on a red flag as the boys got a day off for
Yeah.
Easter. But this week we're back on the track and they will be at Talladega for the Jack Links 500. Mike, as we said last week, I still have the honors for picking first, and I have a 6-3 lead between the two of us. But Talladega is very unpredictable, as anything can happen. So if you're playing Fantasy NASCAR with us, I would highly suggest picking guys that you probably have 9 to 10 uses on, and probably guys that you're not going to pick on a weekly basis. So, and that you probably won't need as the season goes further into as the season is progressing. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Yeah. Everybody I'm using, I either have um, 9 or 10 picks still to go on. So, actually, let me pull it up. I have used none of the guys in my starting lineup once this year. None of them.
Yeah, I think I've used 1 or 2 guys at least once. But at the same time, I think that was probably the Daytona race.
So, funny story. One of the guys is a guy that I actually picked, and I had him in my lineup, but he wrecked early on, so he got traded out. Kyle Busch. So
All right, Mike. But so with Talladega in mind, I'm gonna go. It's hard to use kind of track history with a super speedway, but for whatever reason, Brad Keselowski seems to do really. Brad Keselowski and I think in the Fords in general tend to do pretty well at the super speedways. So I'm gonna go with Big Bad Brad for our competition here.
okay, I'm gonna go with a guy who does really well at super speedways. Michael McDowell.
All right, Brad Keselowski and Michael McDowell. And because this is a super speedway, The race will be back on the Fox Big Network, so you can
Yep.
watch that on over the air. You don't have to have cable
And if you
to
are
watch this
looking,
race.
if you have been tracking what I've been saying all year, and I continue to talk about, uh, the ARCA series will have Cletus McFarlane again. So if you want to watch Cletus McFarlane in the ARCA race, check it out on FS1 on Saturday at noon, 12:30 Eastern time. So
12:30.
11:30 our time, I guess. I'm sorry, 11:30. By the way, that reminded me. Are you waking up at 3 a.m. tomorrow?
No, probably not.
No, not watching the Pope's funeral.
No, probably not.
Okay. Anyway, so with that, Rich, do you have any other NASCAR news you want to talk about?
You know what? I got one. I
Okay.
didn't read the. I didn't read too much into it, but I saw it as a headline. But Randy Childers was relieved of his duties at Spire Motorsports.
Yeah. I actually. So I think the official announcement was not that he was relieved of duties.
Okay.
It was a mutual parting of ways officially. Now, if I'm Randy Childress and I'm looking at, like, they already have destroyed my team. They've taken all my guys away, gave me other guys. I'm in a car that nobody cares about. Do I really, really want to fight it and make a big deal out of it and be on the team? Or do I want to just say, fine, I'll go. I'm out. The guy's been struggling, been given bad hands the last couple years. I don't blame him for not wanting out. If Spire let him go, that's bad on them. They should not have done that. That's not a good move for them. So, anyway, kind of my thoughts on it.
All right. I really didn't have much thoughts on it. I think I was under the impression that it wasn't that, well, you took away my guys. I don't know if he had any guys, as he was a part of Stewart Haas Racing, which closed up shop. And
Right. But the team that he had been working with, the team that he had laid down, so Spire is So NASCAR's rules state that any individual team can only have a maximum of 5 cars. Why is
Okay.
that? Because Hendricks had 5 cars when they decided to make the new rules. And when they made the rules, they were like, well, dang it. They looked over at Hendricks and like, Hendrick, how many you got? I got 5. Okay, 5's the limit. That's essentially what they did. And so Spire is technically its own team, but the management of the pit crew, the management of certain things like that, of the pit crew is handled by Hendricks Motorsports. Hendricks took the entire pit crew, who was actually doing really well this year and had a tight team, and moved them to one of their main drivers and gave that team a lesser group.
all right, I did not know that.
Yeah. So when you do that, you're kind of like, last year he was struggling, but made things work on a shoestring budget with the guys that he had. This year, he gets put out there again. Do you really want to deal with all of that all over again? And then he's doing well. By the way, his team is 9 positions higher than where they were last year at this time. Nothing else changed except for, I mean, there were some changes, but the big changes, driver's the same, the ownership group is the same, all of that is the same. The only real difference is the crew chief. Do I think that? So overall, what is it fair to him? No. Should it? So if he left, I can understand it. If they let him go, I don't understand it. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Anything else, Rich?
No, sirs. Go ahead and take us out to the diamond, Mike.
This has been the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store. Once again, that is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Rich, let's keep making left turns, moving from the asphalt and concrete to the dirt and the diamond of baseball. Rich, this last week, the Cubs played the Diamondbacks, lost one game to the Diamondbacks, swept the Dodgers, and won a game today against the Phillies, meaning they were 3-1 on the week. We both said that they would win 2. Yeah, I didn't expect them to do that, to pull that sweep off. In fact, last week I explicitly said, we're not going to sweep the Diamondbacks. We'll split the Dodgers. We'll win the Phillies. That's exactly what my prediction was. I was wrong. And the articles that I've been seeing, maybe it's because what I do is I look up Cubs scores regularly, so I get Cubs tinted stuff. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of articles out there talking about how good this Cubs team is and how so much of what this team, like the potential that this team has, there are people that are saying that the Cubs are the most likely team to make the playoffs right now because A, the division is winnable, and B, they are playing. They have the toughest April of anybody in the league, and they're going to come out of it 3 games up over Milwaukee, and currently they're 3 games up, and then they come to. They're going to come and they're going to have the easiest May. Then we got to worry about the June swoon. That's the big thing that we got to worry about, and I'm intrigued what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and it just wasn't that they swept the Dodgers. They came from behind both games. I mean, I remember.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
An extra innings win in that wild game where. Oh.
Are you talking the 11-10 game?
Yeah, I think
when
the 11-10 game.
When Tucker hit the home runs.
Tucker got the home runs. Miguel Amaya tied it up with the down to their last strike in the 9th, where half wins it in extra innings. It's crazy that they were able to do that against who we both thought was going to be the best team in the league and probably the default World Series champion because of the roster that they built.
How crazy is it that the Cubs are 4 games up on the Brewers, and the Dodgers are currently 1 game back from the Padres?
And we held our own against the Padres, too, I think.
Yeah.
I know we didn't win the series, but we played them tough.
And the Mets are sitting out front 10 games above 500. How, this season, not what I expected at all.
Well, it just goes to show you. I mean, you can't necessarily... You can win the off season, but that's not necessarily going to translate to wins.
How about
the diamond?
How about the NL West that has 4 of the 5 teams above 500? By the way, the Cubs have played all of the teams in the West at least once, except the Rockies. By the way, the only team that's not above 500. We got the Brewers coming up. Speaking of which, let's talk about what this week looks like. This week we got the Phillies, the Pirates, and the Brewers. The Phillies are a good team. They're right at 500. The Brewers are just under 500. And, the Pirates are the Pirates. That's the easiest game that we've seen in a month. This team is special. This team is doing something, and I'm on board for it. But yet we still are we're technically behind the Dodgers in winning percentage. If we were in the West, we would be in fourth place, and the Diamondbacks would be in fifth. How crazy is that? We'd be number 2 in the East. We would be the number 1 team in the American League right now if we were playing in the American League.
Regardless of division.
Regardless of anything. Nobody. The best team in the National League is the Tigers at 600. Yankees are at 577. And Mariners are at 560. And those are your division leaders. Like, the overwhelming ridiculousness that is the National League, the parity in the National League and the terrible parity in the American League is crazy. By the way, how about the fact that in the last 2 weeks, the Cubs are the only team to beat the Padres at home? And were we the one that did we beat them both 2 games at home? The Dodgers twice we beat them twice in LA. So we're the only team to win a game in LA or San Diego against the Dodgers or the Padres last week in this season so far.
Yeah, it is crazy. I think they're doing better than I thought they would at this point of the season, especially considering the teams that we've had to play this month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully they can capitalize, they can keep the momentum going, and they can rack up some easy wins in May to hopefully get them through the June swoon that normally happens to the Cubs. So with 2 against the Phillies, 3 against the Pirates, and 1 with the Brewers, I'm going to go that they stay hot and they get 4 wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that they're going to split the 2 games with the Phillies. And to get the other 2 wins, I think they'll get a combination of 2 wins against the Pirates or the Brewers.
So I think they're going to split with the Phillies. I think they're going to sweep the Pirates. I don't know what's going to happen with the Brewers. I'm actually going to – I might move it up to – I'm thinking about moving it up to 5. But I'm not going to do that. That's a lot to ask. Right. So, okay, Rich, ice or hardwood?
I got the hardwood on there first, so we'll go there. So, Mike, our playoff teams that are 4 playoff teams that we gave for the NBA were the New York Knicks, the OKC Thunder, the Boston Celtics, and the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Mike, my New York Knicks, who I picked to win the entire thing, are up 2-1 in their series against the Pistons. And the Thunder are up 3-0 on the Grizzlies. Mike, how are the Celtics and Wolves doing?
The Celtics lead 2-0 against the Heat. And you said the Nuggets?
The Wolves.
Oh, the Wolves. Timberwolves are tied with the Lakers, which that to me is going to be a hard one. If the Wolves can pull that off, I think they got a good shot at doing stuff. But man, the problem is that playing the
Lakers.
The Lakers. Oh, that's gonna be tough.
You drew a hard matchup when you looked at the bracket, Mike. But I still respect you for saying, you know what, the team that I picked at the beginning of the year is in the playoffs, so I'm going to stick with it. So,
like, honestly, pre Luka, the Lakers I would have taken any day. I don't think that would have been even a close match. I think the Wolves win, but man, Luka makes a difference. So,
All right, over to the ice. Our playoff teams were the Stars and the Leafs for me. Mike, you stuck with your original pick of the Oilers and the Panthers. Mike, the Stars are up 2-1 on the Avalanche, and the Leafs are up 3-0 on the Senators. Mike, your Edmonton Oilers, who you picked to win the entire thing, are down 2-0 to the LA Kings, but the Panthers are up 2-0 in their series against the Lightning.
I
So have
picked
you
them at the
had?
beginning of the year.
I know.
I can't change
I
it. Like, I- part of me feels like if I pick them at the beginning of the year, I got to stick with it, right?
Fair enough. So, Mike, have you had a chance to watch any basketball or hockey?
This season?
No, this postseason. What
Oh
about
no,
this
not
postseason?
during the postseason. During the season, yes. The postseason, no.
Yeah, me too. All right, Mike. So that was our brief, quick update on our NHL and NBA teams. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes of this show and something that we've wanted to talk on.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we
Up.
didn't have it ready last week. And last week, folks, understand we just went real quick. We did our thing. We had more important things to do last week.
We
Like,
did.
and in general, do we have more important things to do weekly? Sometimes. But this is something Rich and I have prioritized, and our wives agree, and our families understand that this is something we do. But last week we were in person. We were spending time with family. My daughter had her birthday party. We had decided that we're going to be as quick as possible so that we can get back to what's really important. That's being together. A lot of the reason we do this show is this is Rich and my's time to get together and have fellowship and have camaraderie and just to stay plugged in a friendship. By the way, if you're not doing that, do that regularly. You got to have somebody that you're regularly plugging into, and that's what this show is all about. And yes, last week could we have gone longer? I think we could have. And I could have
Yeah.
made up a draft right then and there on the spot, and it would have been about as accurate as if I would have spent 20 hours doing it. But Rich did an awesome thing last week. I am so here for it. I can't wait. Rich, you went and you did a draft with ChatGPT.
I did. I either phrased the question to the chat bot as who would you draft? Who would you draft? Who should the insert team name draft in the 2025 NFL draft? Or I phrased it as if you were the GM of the insert team name, who would you draft? So now it's time to find out who ChatGPT said, who I said, and who actually got drafted. So, Mike, we all agreed that Cam Ward would be the choice for the Tennessee Titans. No argument there. Number two, with the Browns, I kind of drafted this one backwards as I wanted Travis Hunter to go to the Giants. So I had to give the Browns somebody else. So I gave them Abdul Carter. ChatGPT gave him Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was the number 2 pick, but he went to the Jaguars. But they got the number 3 pick right. Number 3 was really off, as I had to ask ChatGPT a couple times who they would draft as the Giants because they kept saying Travis Hunter. Well, you can't draft it. You can't give it Travis Hunter because you just gave him number 2. So I had to phrase the question if Ward and Hunter are not available, and it said Shador Sanders because they needed to address the quarterback room.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even think Shador Sanders, as of going on air, Mike, Shador Sanders has not even been drafted yet. As of us going on air, I picked Travis Hunter going to the Giants, but they actually drafted Abdul Carter. So Abdul Carter, the ChatGPT. So out of who ChatGPT, we'll just go through the rest of their draft.
Okay.
It took Abdul Carter for the Pats, Mason Graham to the Jaguars, Allison Janney to the Raiders, Tyler Warren is who it gave the Jets, For the Panthers, it gave offensive tackle Kevin Banks. Saints went with, he gave it Will Johnson. And it gave the Bears Will Campbell.
Okay.
Where I went with is I went with the Patriots taking Campbell, which I got right. Mason Graham going number 5, which I got right for the slot, but not for the team. I got GNT right. Memboa right with the Jets. I did not get the Panthers and the Saints right, as I went with Jalen Walker and Shedeur Sanders, and I didn't get the Bears right, as I went with Tyler Warren for the Bears.
And you say you have that? Where is that? Where's your? Is that on the predictions list?
No, it is on a NFL mock draft. It is a sheet that I shared with you.
Did you? Because I haven't been able to find it. Here. Because I was going to look at it. Oh, there it is. Easy enough to find. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think, and you and I actually swapped. I told you yesterday. So first and foremost, I texted you yesterday. I said Shedeur Sanders isn't going to be drafted in the first day of the draft. You thought, well, so and so might late in the round pick him up. That didn't happen.
I really did. I thought that somebody would
he
move up for him in the
officially
second round.
has not been drafted. I just looked. He has not been drafted in day 2 of the draft. Man, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about the predictions. So Cam Ward, everybody, excuse me, I agree. Everybody on that, I think that's the right move. Travis Hunter, that was fairly predictable, actually. I thought that's what was going to happen. Abdul Carter.
That was a best player available draft.
Yeah. Which, again,
it doesn't necessarily fill a need for the Giants, as they got Cameron Thibodeau and Brian Burns.
Right.
On the edge, but
here's what I'm gonna
take the generational talent.
Here's what I'm gonna say about that. Obviously, we've seen that the Giants didn't think Shedeur Sanders was a top 10 pick. The Giants didn't think he was a second round pick, a third round pick. We don't know if the Giants actually have picked somebody else up now, so they're not drafting him.
Well, we thought as soon as the Giants traded it back into the first round, they were going to get Sanders. They went and drafted Jackson Dart.
Yeah. So I agree Abdul Carter was the better player over Travis Hunter. The Giants weren't looking at a quarterback that early, which means they might have been willing to trade down. And this is where the Bears pick Colston Loveland, which I think. So here's the thing: Loveland and Warner are nearly identical when it comes to when you look at a lot of lists. 1-7, 1-6. They were 7 or 6 or 7 on the list, depending on what list you looked at. They're both tight ends. They're both great tight ends, by the way. This is the thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. But you may, when I said I like that pick, you said I think they could have gotten him later. I said yeah, and they could have gotten Tyler Warner later. But Rich, do you want to trade your first round draft pick for our fantasy draft?
2 to trade, and this was probably not the draft down or trade up, because they're just these draft picks were so all over the board.
This was one of the weakest draft classes we've seen in years.
I don't know about a weekend draft class, but there was a lot of.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks. There's not enough. Really, not too many players where you'd say you got to trade up. I want that guy.
There's a lot of big uglies in this draft. That's one thing they got a lot of in this draft. A lot of big uglies in this draft. I mean, 1, 2, 3, or wait. Yeah, 1. Let me pull that over here. In the first round. I'm just going to go the first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 linemen. 14 linemen in the first round. Rich, other than maybe Cam Ward, is there an offensive player you would have wanted the Bears to trade up for? By the way, I don't want them to trade up for Cam. Let's use a different team. Let's say you're starting a brand new franchise. We'll go with you're the Titans. Let's say you're the Titans.
Okay.
Cam Ward's the only one that really makes you excited. But let's say you had traded down and you had traded the Bears. Let's say the Bears and Titans had traded somehow, and the Bears now have the number 1 overall pick this year. Okay?
Okay.
And the Titans are at number 9. Other than Cam Ward, is there another player to help your offense, I'm talking the Titans, that you would want to trade up for?
Knowing what they need?
They need a lot.
They do.
They need everything.
And I don't know if you trade back up for anybody.
Would you have...
I was glad that the Bears didn't necessarily trade up for Gianti. Would have looked great in the Bears uniform. Wouldn't have been upset if they did trade up for him, but I'm glad that they didn't.
There's plenty of, like, there's lots of talent, but there's not quarterbacks to get overly excited about. Cam Ward, I think he only gets drafted number 1 because
it's a weak quarterback class.
I think in the last 5 years, I don't think if you take the last 5 years, make it 1 year, I don't think he goes in a 7-round draft. We have had, the last 5 years, we've had so many outstanding quarterbacks that most every team should be able to find a decent enough quarterback. And Cam Ward might not even make it. He wouldn't be in your top 5 last year. Not in your top 10 not in your top 5 the year before. I don't know that Cam Ward would have been a first-round pick in any of the other draft classes over the last 5 years. And when you put it that way, I wouldn't have traded up for him.
No, I don't think I would have either.
Now, if you're at number 1 and you're Tennessee and you don't have a quarterback, yeah, that's what you got to do. But outside of that, it's ridiculous. Okay, with that, so let's go.
The Bears, Mike. Did you like who the Bears have drafted? So their full draft class, up the point of us going on air. Colton Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, in round 1. Luther Borden III from Missouri, with their first pick in the 2nd round. They traded down in the 2nd round to get the 24th to go from what was it, the 9th or 10th pick in the 2nd round down to 24, and they picked up Ozzie Tupelo, as well as they somehow acquired the 30th pick in the 2nd round to take Shamar Turner from Texas A&M. So they pick up a tight end, a wide receiver, an offensive tackle, and a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I'm 100% good on this. So Loveland, we talked about it earlier. Loveland was one of those guys where he was the next up. Now, was he the best available at the time? I think so.
You know, and I'd have to agree with you. I think I don't know. Given how the board fell, for me, it was probably between Loveland and Warren because the defensive players there wasn't. I didn't think that there was a defensive player that
So-
he wouldn't have been screaming reach
What you
if
and I have
had
talked about,
if you had drafted him at 10.
you were saying maybe Janty for a running back, maybe.
And I would have loved to have seen Hampton on that team, but Hampton does not. That would have been a really far of a reach.
Yeah, that's too much of a reach. And again, like we discussed earlier, if nobody's willing to let you trade down with them, you can't make it. You can't make up a trade and make it work. You just can't do it.
Yeah, but overall, Mike, I'm going to give it a thumbs up for the Bears draft up to this point. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't get a running back.
Yes.
With it being a deep class, but they didn't trade up in the second round to maybe secure one of those Ohio State backs in Jenkins or Trevon Henderson, who both went before the Bears got back on the clock at number
27.
7th pick in the second round.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's still a decent running back available in round 4 when we go back on the clock.
Yeah, so I'm gonna quick give you my, and I don't know if I finished up with it, but I know that I've told you this time and time again. Colston Loveland, better hands, better receiver, which is why I'm happy that we picked him up. You were talking that you were hoping that they were going to pick up Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is a better overall tight end. He's a better blocker, has some of those small routes and small plays there better. But overall, I think either one of those picks would have been great. I'm happy with all of it. Rich, let's talk about let's deal with the full elephant in the room. We're going to talk about it real quick. We're going to talk about I'm going to give you my theory on the Shedeur Sanders situation.
Okay.
Here's what I think happened. We went into this. Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback is an okay quarterback. Not great. He holds the ball a little bit long, which indicates that he probably has some trouble reading the offense or the defense and making his reads. Probably a little slower than he should be on that. I don't think that the problem is his dad, but I don't think that his dad helps the situation.
Yeah, that's where my main thought is. You'd think that with as much media coverage as this guy has, because he regularly has a TV show, and it's not always centered on Colorado football. It's football in general. It's not centered to the Bluffs. To where you'd think any team that got drafted, any team that drafted Shedeur, Shedeur should be out there playing. They'd be winning games if they had Shedeur out there.
Here's the thing, though, and I think that media circus that comes with it, the smallest part. I don't have it. I've read a couple articles and people that have unnamed sources that talked about the interview process with Shedeur Sanders. Wasn't prepared when he came in the room. He was, I don't want to say he wasn't respectful, but he was not as focused on the interview as he should have been, from what I understand. He also did things. His answers weren't great. He apparently his football IQ was not as high as people thought it was, and he has lost a lot of credibility. Now, add that to the fact that his dad is a circus, and here's the biggest thing. This is where I think the whole story happens. Because the story isn't about his ability or his interview or any of that stuff. What drives people to content? Especially when we're talking sports content. It's your guests. And one of the biggest guests that people can get on when talking the NFL is getting Deion Sanders on there. The man is a show in and of himself. There's a reason why Hard Knocks do a thing on him or something? They had a whole TV show based around him as a coach.
Yeah, I believe it was I want to say it was Amazon Prime.
Something like that. They've done
him, kind of like a Hard Knocks style show just about his football program.
They've done stuff. He has done you want him, getting him on your show will drive ratings. It'll drive content. It'll drive all that stuff. It'll give you replays. It'll give you all the things. People love it. People want him on there. Rich, as much as we haven't done it, but if I sat here and said, Shedeur Sanders really isn't ready for the NFL. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I don't want it, blah, blah. If I went on this tirade about it before the draft, now, our ability to get him is slim to none. But if we had a national syndicated show, I go on the air and say any of those things about Shedeur Sanders, what's the likelihood that I'm going to get Deion Sanders on my show? Yep, about as much as we have getting him on our show anyway. So, what did ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports Commentary, all of them, what did they all do the last 10 months, 12 months this last year?
Hype him as a top 10 pick.
They hyped this man up. He had a better hype program than the Harlem Globetrotters. So we're sitting here looking at him like, well, he's obviously the number 2 quarterback. Like we understand Deion. We know we can't say that he's number 1. Look at Cam Ward. He's so much better. Blah blah. On top of it, Shedeur let it all go to his head. All of that combines to mean nobody wants him. My bold prediction, I'm actually going to change it. We talked about it beforehand. He will be Mr. Irrelevant. He will be Mr. Irrelevant.
I mean, at this point, the teams that were looking into drafting Shedeur Sanders, the Titans, they drafted Cam Ward. The Giants took Jackson Dart, traded up to get Jackson Dart. The Saints went with the quarterback from Louisville, Tyler Slough. And I was looking at who the Browns drafted, and they picked up Dylan Gabriel from Oregon in the 3rd round.
I just pulled that. Who needs a quarterback? Who needs a quarterback in the NFL right now?
For a starting quarterback, there don't.
Nobody.
All 32 teams have their starting quarterback. The only team that really doesn't, that I think if you looked over their roster is like, that's who you have as your starting quarterback, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mason Rudolph is listed as the quarterback 1 on their roster. guy that's been a career backup. And is Pittsburgh a team that's going to put up with that, with the hype train of Deion Sanders and maybe the prima donna stuff that you're going to get from Shadir? I don't think so.
So Pittsburgh knows that they don't. Pittsburgh's the only other team right now that needs a quarterback. Everybody else got a quarterback that needs a quarterback. Everybody else.
And I think, and the thing that you keep on hearing is that Pittsburgh is waiting on Aaron Rodgers to finally break his stalemate and say, yeah, fine, I'll come back. I'll do one more year with you. But Pittsburgh just doesn't seem like a spot for Aaron Rodgers either.
Kansas City has the last pick of the draft this year.
Okay.
Pittsburgh's last pick is 229. Do they trade in to pick up Shador? Do they wait and just pick up Shador on a gentleman's contract, on a gentleman's draft pick? The only people guaranteed anything are first round picks, and top 10 first round picks at that. First round picks, the only thing you get being a first round pick means that the team owns you for one extra year. Second round, third round, your money drops by like half in the second. Third round, it drops by like 25% from what second round.
So
there's no guarantee.
I think I got two teams to watch out for a Sanders draft.
Okay. We're going to say Pittsburgh, right? Like, we got to say Pittsburgh at this point?
I'm not going to go with Pittsburgh at this point. I'm going to go Dallas.
Okay.
To be a backup for Dak Prescott, and you can bring the Sanders name back to the Big D.
Okay.
And why not the Raiders?
That was a team that I actually think they need a quarterback.
Well, they have Geno Smith, but Shador could easily serve as a good backup.
And I think, and let's be honest. Well, So this is where it gets hard. The Raiders of the 90s, similar to the Cowboys of the 90s, 100%, they would have dealt with the personality, the hype, the all of it. That would have been right in their wheelhouse. But are the Vegas Raiders that type of a team?
Not anymore. Not anymore, I don't think.
I like both of those. I do like both of those. Actually, the Raiders are one that I've been questioning. They have Geno Smith. Is that really the guy that, like, would you say you don't need a quarterback by Rich? If right now the only our quote unquote starting quarterback was Geno Smith, would you have wanted the Bears to draft a quarterback this offseason?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I would put that would be a great spot to put him in. Now, do you think it goes 4, 5, 6, or 7? Like, at this point, where does he go?
I'm going to go the 5th round at this point. Because I thought there's no way he'd still be on the board at the end of the 4th round, and here we are. He slid into day 3.
Let me see what Ford looks like. Tennessee number 1, not going to be Tennessee. Jacksonville, no. Giants, no. Patriots. Who do the Patriots have right now? Mac Jones?
Patriots have a rookie quarterback in Drake May, so they're gone. Trevor Lawrence is locked in with the Jags.
So 6 could be a good spot for him for 4. Round 4 doesn't matter.
Okay.
So why not? Why is 5 any worse than 4? I mean, it's 32 guys less, but
Okay.
but what I'm
The
saying
Jets
is,
are the Jets are where quarterbacks go to die, but if you don't have complete faith in that Justin Fields can be a quarterback for you, why not have another guy that's kind of a wild card and maybe comes in? I don't think he goes to the Eagles because he doesn't really play a similar game or style to Jalen Hurts.
Saints just
Saints got
got
their quarterback.
yep. Niners would
Niners,
compete
they
with.
got Purdy. They
Dude.
got Purdy, but they haven't extended him yet. Bryce Young is on a rookie contract with Carolina.
I think San Francisco might be a sneaky. If you got Mr. Irrelevant, is that gonna is it gonna hurt your feelings to bring in a new guy?
No. I mean, the Steelers aren't back on the board until number 21 in round number 4.
I think he goes in. I think he could go in 4 because at this point, I really wish I was a fly on the wall in the Sanders house because I want to see what that looks like. So, okay. With that, Rich, what else? What other teams are you happy about what they've done in the draft?
You know, a team that kind of stood out to me when looking through it, Arizona picked up a really good defense tackle in Will Norton.
Yeah.
And Walter Nolan. And they picked up a cornerback that many thought would be a top 10 pick, or at least a top 15 pick in Will Johnson. That went in he went in the second round to him. So that's some good drafting.
So I'm gonna give a one that I don't like the team in general, mostly because of their ownership management group.
Okay.
But looking at their picks, an offensive guard, an edge rusher, and a cornerback. All things that this team theoretically needs. I'm talking the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think they've really overreached on any positions. Some would argue that Booker out of Alabama might have been an overreach. I don't think so. Guards are rarely overreaches. Picked him up at 12. Donovan Nzuriku, they got him at 12 in the second round. The 12th pick of the second round. So that'd be 30-something. Or 40-something. That's 44. 44 pick overall. His rank, he's a pretty decently ranked guy in the as a edge rusher. Edge tackle, whatever you want to call that position. And then they got a top 5 cornerback in this draft class. I think that's looking good for them. They still need a running back. They still need an answer. They need at least one big wide receiver, which, wide receivers are a dime a dozen. You can pick good wide receivers up in the mid to late rounds. So I don't think they're out of it yet. Okay, Rich. Last question.
Okay.
Before we move on to spoilers and esports and all that, because we're already at an hour, by the way. We've been doing good on this show. I've already said it. I changed my answer. What position do you think will be Mr. Irrelevant?
I'm going to go with a linebacker.
Okay, I like that pick. I initially said that I thought it was going to be a tackle. I think is what I told you, but
yeah.
Let's make it Shador Sanders. Let's make the meme even better. So, okay, with that, Rich, spoiler alert. Did you watch The Masked Singer?
I did not. It's been a busy week.
Okay. Okay. Spoiler alert.
It's okay.
But esports wise, let's do this first. Esports.
Okay.
The team we were supposed to play on Tuesday forfeited, so we didn't have a match. And then we had a signing day. James Cheney signed with Buena Vista University, and essentially did really well there. Looking to be a great guy. Hopefully that goes well for him. So that was today. And then finally our spoiler alert. I'm gonna talk about the Masked Singer. When I do, Rich is gonna take his headphones off. I'm gonna wave it because I'm gonna have to bring Rich back in. If you're watching it, watch for the sign. I'll bring Rich back in. It'll be something like that. And then you can jump back in with us, or you could pause it, go watch the Masked Singer, come back later. Okay. With that, goodbye, Rich. We'll see you in about a minute and a half. I'm gonna do it super quick. Okay, so this week it was the Nessie, and when Nessie went home, it turned out to be Edwin Edwin McCain. He's known for I'll Be was his favorite song. Great guy. Actually learned a lot about him. If you want to learn more about him, check out the Dale Jr. podcast. He did a full interview on there with him, and it was great. I learned a lot about him, and yeah, check it out. So with that, bring it on back, Rich. Do you like how I talk into this a little bit closer so you can't actually read my lips and you can't tell and all that stuff? Yeah. So.
Yeah. So.
With that, Rich, any shout-outs for the week?
No, I can't think of anything. I guess congratulations to the Hansons. A couple in our missional community through church. They had the birth of their third child. So this week, which was one of the things that made it a busy week, because my wife had to go over there and help with childcare for their two other children while mom and dad were at the hospital. So,
okay, with that, Rich,
if they're listening to us here on YouTube, Mike, but they want to just have the audio version or be able to take us wherever they go on the road or working out or walking, where can they find us, Mike?
You can find us on wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Google, however Google's getting them out these days, all of the above. Rich, they want to participate in the poll question. Where do they do that?
Look us up on Facebook. There should be a link in our show descriptions wherever you're finding our show, either on YouTube or out in your podcast platform. Or you can just go into Facebook and search for Balls and Sticks.
With that, Rich, take us out.
All right, Mike. So that is our show this week. Tune in next week where we're going to give you a full review of what we thought of the draft and maybe where Shedeur Sanders went or didn't go. And we'll talk at you next week. So, Mike, go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.